What do you think when you hear officers being demonized on the news?
We took it upon ourselves to push back. We're going to protect our cops.
Let's get to that location now.
You got shots fired, you make an apprehension. What's likely to happen to him?
By the time the cop finishes the paperwork, the guy will be walking out to jail.
The murder of an NYPD officer on the job. The 31-year-old father was shot and killed.
You guys all worked with and knew Officer Diller. Were you there that day?
Thousands gathered to say their final goodbyes to Officer Jonathan Dillar today. The 31-year-old father was shot and killed during a traffic stop this week.
Sadness and sorrow overtook the sunshine as his widow, Stephanie, held their 1-year-old son, Ryan, closely during a moving eulogy. Her heartbreak raw.
With every hug that I've received, I just picture each one is from Jonathan.
Calling him her best friend, closest confidant, the man whose family always came first.
He was a fierce protector of everyone around him. He spoke his mind and wasn't afraid.
And as fierce as he was, his heart would melt for his son.
He was so proud of Ryan. Every time he did something new, it was like an explosion of joy from both of us.
You guys all worked with and knew Officer Diller. What can you tell me about him?
He was, very selfless. He would, go out of his way to help you with anything. He would be the first to volunteer for something that somebody else might not want to do. Jokester, always joking around. And it's crazy, because he's married, I'm not. And the last advice he gave me was actually relationship advice. Unfortunately passed away and wasn't able to know the outcome of, that advice that he gave.
Were you there that day?
Yeah, unfortunately.
And you were the sergeant?
He had amazing motivation. He just couldn't stop. He loved the job. He loved what he did. He loved just being out there and doing his thing. You want to get the guns off the street. You want to get the real bad guys off the street. Not anything small time. And that was his thing. He just loved it. And I was very impressed with his motivation.
What would he say if he was here right now?
He always walked in the room, hi friends, and he always walked out and always, love you guys, love you. And he was a prankster, he was a funny guy, and no matter what you did to him, if you pranked him, he's, I love you. It's just the nicest guy in the world. Big heart.
His wife was really outspoken. Have y'all been in touch with her?
During the week when we were at the wake, we were lucky enough to spend some time with her alone. And during that time, it was just really nice because we just all shared stories together. She was just telling us all the great stories about him. And, the short amount of time that we worked with him, we could see the connection between how he was at home and how he was at work. And they were kind of interlaced with him.
It's not empty words when I say to people, I get up and get dressed and go to the studio and talking to a camera. You guys get up and get dressed and go out and sometimes stand in the line of fire. I think sometimes people take that for granted. I don't take it for granted. Why do you do it instead of some other job? Why do you do this?
Why not?
Well, because there are safer things to do that probably pay more money.
People calling cops when they need help, and I can speak for all of us on this team that we always want to be there. It doesn't matter what the situation is out in the street or what the media says. We're positive people. We want to be positive for the community and positive for everyone.
I think most of us here, it's just a calling. Only thing I ever wanted to do, and just happy to do it, but, just nothing else we'd rather be doing.
What do you think when you hear officers being demonized on the news? Which they do sometimes, they get demonized. And I know there are some bad officers out there. I know there are. There are some people that should have never been given a gun and a badge, but they're rare. What do you think when you hear all that?
Majority of, people do like the police. It's the same way where majority of police are actually good officers that, want to do the right thing and took the job for the right reasons. With that said, most of us are actually doing the right thing, so it doesn't matter if, a little pocket doesn't like us. Just like you said, the majority does, appreciate us being out there.
I am the media, and because I work with law enforcement so much, they'll show me the whole tape sometimes of what goes on in an incident, and the media will pick that tape up in the middle and show that truncated part of it, and won't show all the rest of it. And it's infuriating to me.
It's also good now that we have administration that's actually stepping up and fighting back for us little guys, because we're out there doing everything we possibly can to do the right thing. And if we make a little administrative mistake or here and there, they're there to back us up now. And in the past, we didn't really have that. We got sent to the wolves. I got a question for you, actually. Do you have any suggestions on coping techniques for people? Because everyone copes differently.
Well, a couple of things very specifically. Number one is that you give your feelings a voice. You need to talk about it, because you can walk around feeling such a burden, and you might be feeling angry, you might be feeling sad, you might be feeling numb and thinking, you know, there's something wrong with me. You got to be willing to talk to each other, but you got to give your feelings a voice, because when you do, you're going to find out, oh, I'm not the only one feeling this way. Whatever you're feeling, if you share it with somebody and they say, well, here's how I'm feeling, and you exchange back and forth and realize it's okay to talk about it, it's so cathartic. It's such a relief valve, just to give it a voice and talk to somebody that you can trust. That's the number one thing. Number two, if you'll write things down, it's called production mode. When you write it down, it causes you to crystallize your thinking and put it in a coherent paragraph or sentence. And if you think it's really affecting you, then you might need to take a sick day or a couple of vacation days or something and give yourself a chance to balance out. It truly is a brotherhood. You find strength in each other. And don't listen to the loudmouth naysayers, because we need you.
10-4, boss.
So the Bronx commander just called us before and said they're having some issues up here tonight.
What's going on?
When you were talking with the guys in the 4-6 precinct where we're going now, where they're seeing a little uptick in shots fired, smoke shop robberies, they just took another shots fired. We actually have the video of the incident. We have the car we're looking for, it's a black four-door sedan, temporary tags, ghost vehicles. These guys,
cars are a problem for us.
They print them out at home on the internet, these fake temporary plates, and they put them on their cars. So number one, to avoid detection, not paying their fare, and they commit robberies, shootings, homicides with these vehicles. It's hard for us to identify them because they have paper plates on it.
Are they stolen cars?
Some of them are. Some of them are just unregistered. And you're gonna see, if we're out long enough, you will see there will be a vehicle that will take off on us. We are using technology to make apprehensions. What do I mean by technology? We have what's called Star Chase, where the officers have a handheld device, like a handheld gun, and they can shoot it out the window. So it shoots a projectile in the back of the car, the adhesive, and it sticks on it. And then out with the center that you've seen, our Joint Operations Center can track that vehicle throughout the whole city. Nobody stops in the city, really, because there's no consequences.
What's likely to happen if there is a incident that occurs? Say here, you've got shots fired, car with phony tags, and you make an apprehension, and you take the individual down and book them. What's likely to happen to them these days versus 10, 20 years ago?
By the time the cop finishes the paperwork, the guy will be walking out to jail, walking out of the courts.
It depends on their record. I'll give you a staggering statistic right now. We had a record number of stolen cars last year in New York City. It's probably our number one crime, stolen cars, which was rare. Stolen cars in New York City. And we made a record number of arrests, and only 2% of those arrests resulted in a conviction. So
2%?
2%, 2.4 to be exact. And social media, TikTok to be specific, in July of 22 taught every kid in America how to steal a Hyundai and a Kia because there was a defect in the steering column. So all these young kids were stealing these cars, but they knew that they're not going to jail for it, so just keep doing it.
Hard to imagine.
So all our bridges have plate readers that read your plates, and when one hits, the operations center will put it out that there's a car on a move somewhere. This one's going into Brooklyn, so we'll let Brooklyn handle it. So we're going away from it, but the communication is really key to our success. The operations center we were just in, they're listening to us right now, and we're all talking on one frequency that we've had frequencies before, but this is dedicated just to us, and it's encrypted so people can hear us. So right now, one of the issues with our city council is they're upset that they can't listen to us or the media can't listen to us, and we don't really apologize because the bad guys listen to us too. Yeah. Some of our media, especially some of our print media, they want our administration to fail. They are anti-police. So they take glee in proving that we can't reduce crime, and we've been reducing crime. The bigger question to ask is, with record number of enforcement we have, and crime is coming down slowly, why isn't it coming down faster? That's the question.
There's no consequences.
That's simple answer, right? No consequences. And that's what some portions of our electeds and media don't understand. We've come to a point, the police in some way, shape, or form have become the bad guy.
I've studied this a fair amount, and what they're saying is the system has failed the bad guy, or he wouldn't be a bad guy. So the system has failed him, so we now have to try to make that up to him by not having consequences for his criminal conduct or her criminal conduct. But that's not rendering them aid, that's not helping them. Let's say, for argument's sake, the system did fail them and force them into a life of crime. How does allowing them to continue that self-destructive behavior help them? That's not going to bring about change. The system's failing them again.
Right, and I think it's such a nice thing to see someone get a second chance and make it. It's a wonderful thing. But there comes a point in time where you have to realize that's not going to work, and we got to remove people off our streets that are hurting our community. But some people don't see it that way.
Even if someone is an addict, which I agree is a disease, or if someone is mentally ill, again, a disease, I get that. Do they need help? Yes. But you still have to suppress their behavior before you render them aid. You have to protect innocent society from these bad actors, because if somebody stabs you in the neck, you don't really care why they did it. You're still stabbed in the neck.
Right.
Your life is ruined. We first have to suppress the behavior. Okay, now, if they need help, let's try and get them some help.
Sometimes when you're sitting at home and you're watching the news or op-eds on policing in New York City, I realize, wow, I really have a big play in this.
Yeah.
I think they're talking about me right now. Yeah. Whether it be protests or just anything.
Yeah, wait a minute, is that me they're talking about? So what were they dogging on you about last night?
Over the weekends, before and during and quite frankly after the burial of our detective, some people just don't say the right thing and their timing is awful and they're cold and callous. We're certainly just not going to stand by when that happens. Just mean-spirited anti-police journalists, we just took it upon ourselves to push back, and it caused quite an uproar. And now we're saying, well, we have feelings too, and we're going to protect our cops, and it's a two-way street now. And, you know, our mayor and our police commissioner backed us 1,000%, and that took them off guard too.
I saw what the mayor said about saying, hey, you know, feelings are raw right now, and people are going to respond. They're humans.
Right.
And people forget that.
So we kind of got into it, and they didn't like it, but we didn't back down, and again, we just keep fighting for that narrative. We're going to protect our cops, and we're not going to apologize for it.
And to add on, like, you seen those guys in the room. I think one of them said it, that we have an administration that's going to stick up for us, and we did.
Well, that's got to be so important for morale, for them to know that you've got their back and you're going to stick up for them.
Right. And when our cops make mistakes, some of them sound the same, but our team, we go by, like, what was the intent of the cop?
If there's someone that's gotten through the cracks and they show a pattern of bad judgment or bad behavior, you guys aren't reluctant.
We don't waste time. We remove him from the street because that's not good for anybody.
Right.
And we'll have instances where a cop is too aggressive and shouldn't have done what they did, and we have levels of discipline, and in some cases we might suspend you because we can't tolerate, we can't be hypocritical about it. We get a lot of videos sent to us. Yeah. We'll see instances where we think the supervisor should have taken that cop out of that position, and we'll have a talking with that person about it.
I got the point with Arthur in regards to that 30.
So Dr. Phil, I was a first grade detective last year and then got appointed to this position, Deputy Commissioner of Operations, right? So I used to go with these guys all the time. This team really changed because you remember we had 8 years of an administration that didn't want you to do nothing. This team really helped the movement of trying to get the quality of life back to New Yorkers here in this city. When they saw these guys started to work, then it was, you know, contagious. These guys really started to change the culture in this department of getting the cops back, to get the quality of life back to the New Yorkers here. And they're addressing small things, drinking, plates, we call double parked cars, scooters, ATVs, dirt bikes. And guess what? Last night, they got a dirt bike. Guess what the guy had on him? A gun. 2 days before that, they got a fraudulent plate, gun. So they have gotten a gun probably every other day they went out in the street.
So the two biggest quality of life complaints we get in every neighborhood in the city is illegal cars and bikes and marijuana shops.
We're doing it right away.
So they legalized marijuana and they wanted to control it through dispensaries with licenses, and the whole thing really didn't work well. And now we have about 2,500 stores that shouldn't be selling marijuana and edibles and psychedelic mushrooms. It is out of control, and they expect us to fix it, but it's not that easy.
We don't have the authority to shut them down. We can go into a licensed premise and write a bunch of summonses for fruit flies and the alcohol. We can go into a deli, do an inspection. We can go into a barbershop and do an inspection. But we can't do an inspection in the smoke shop. It don't make no sense.
These guys hear this? He's right here.
Valentine and Fordham, let's go.
Make it right. Watch this, make it right. They're going to Valentine. Follow them. They're going to go to Valentine and cut up.
Guys, whoever's in the front, let's get to that location now.
Make it right here.
Make it right at this light.
See what we got here. All right.
All right, let's go. We're here,
Let's
guys.
see what we got.
The sergeant was chasing them. They grabbed this guy here. Let's see what they run for over here.
Who started this?
He's across the street.
So the commanding officer of this precinct, the 46th precinct here, so he's actually working. What is this? We're looking for a gun? Is that what we're doing?
I do a bag, a black bag.
You do a black bag?
They're doing an evidence search right now.
Oh, we tossed it?
Yeah.
Jerry, come here.
Hey, boss.
This is Dr. Phil. I'm sure you know him. This is,
How you doing? How are you?
This is Jerry.
Good to meet you.
Wow.
He's the commanding officer of the 46th precinct.
Yes, I am.
So
All right.
Can you fill us in here quickly what you got here?
Yeah, so public safety, for pursuit, the guy tossed the bag. So just canvassing this.
We can't find a bag?
No.
We come with 20, 30 cars. You know, we'll take over. We come heavy. One of the greatest feelings in the world you could feel as a cop up here or anywhere else, when you're in a little trouble and you hear those sirens coming.
Yeah,
That is music to your ears.
Don't you know it?
Let's mount up, Johnny.
All right, let's go. They definitely got to find a bag that he threw, which is probably going to be a gun in the bag.
We won't touch it.
Yeah, we won't touch it.
Have our crime scene process for DNA it.
And we'll build the case out.
All right, let's go. We're ready, 98.
So is this pretty rough up here, Joe?
Yeah, this is the Bronx. Most of the Bronx is rough. I mean, so much better than years ago. The climate has changed.
Yeah.
And that's what's really changed, because this wouldn't happen 10, 15 years ago. We're battling a perception problem that people want to feel safe, so that's the perception piece for us. The print media, again, doesn't do us any favors, and they sensationalize every single event. And it makes like, what's going on down there? So when the conductor got slashed, when he put his head out the window to look, and someone came up and slashed him, 60 got assaulted, 30 got arrested. The 30 that got arrested, they had amassed about over 1,100 arrests. That's recidivism. That is repeat offender. That they shouldn't have the opportunity to slash the conductor. If
You're saying the 38 that got arrested.
Combined total arrests, 1,126 times.